Hello and welcome back to the channel. What you see on the screen is a mother's group called Moms of Liberty. Apparently they don't want their school system to teach about MLK or the civil rights movement. They feel that some of the details of the civil rights movement and some of Martin Luther King's things that he stood for are just too traumatizing for their children. So go ahead and listen at this report, and I will be right back.
A southern chapter of the right-wing parents advocacy group Moms of Liberty is protesting teaching the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in school because they claim aspects of his work traumatize students. The group further alleged that teaching children anything about the civil rights movement should be banned. Robin Steenman, the president of the Williamson chapter of the Moms of Liberty, filed an official complaint on behalf of the nonprofit with the Tennessee Department of Education. She claimed that the Williamson County Schools District, by utilizing the K-5 curriculum Wit and Wisdom created by great minds, is teaching critical race theory to students. Some elements of the curriculum that were highlighted in the filing were books taught in their elementary second grade module about the life and contributions of various civil rights leaders. Two books specifically named were Martin Luther King Jr. and The March on Washington by Francis Ruffin and Ruby Bridges Goes to School, My True Story by Ruby Bridges. Within the King book, the organization complains about the accurate portrayal of the fight for the desegregation of the American South through actual photographs of segregated drinking fountains and white firemen blasting black children to the point of bruising their bodies and ripping off their clothes. The group claimed that some children are seeing counselors to overcome the emotional trauma inflicted upon them by what they learned in Tennessee public education. The filing further suggests that targeting elementary-age children with daily lessons on fighting past injustices, as if they were occurring in present day, violates Tennessee law and will sow the seeds of racial strife. The Tennessee law referenced in the filing stemmed from an anti-critical race theory bill, which was signed into law by government. Bill Lee on May 24. The barely veiled purpose is to restrict what state K-12 public school educators can discuss in their classrooms about historic facts that show how racism has permeated American life. Despite the law, the organization's claim was rejected. The Department of Education replied that it can't investigate the allegations because of a technicality. In a letter sent to the organization on November 23, the State Education Commissioner Penny Schwinn wrote, "Because the law was made just this spring, her department is only authorized to investigate allegations that have occurred during the 2021-22 school year and subsequent school years." Schwinn also was sure not to take sides about their objection. Please note that in declining to investigate these claims, the department has not made a determination regarding the merits of these allegations, she continued. We encourage you to work with the Williamson County School District to resolve the issues and concerns related to your complaint and ensure compliance with state law. Moms of Liberty, unsatisfied with the reply, posted the note in its entirety online with the caption "The Fine Art of the Dodge." In response to the Moms of Liberty's complaint, the Williamson County School Superintendent, Jason Golden, says that critical race theory is not being taught to the students. A representative for the Great Minds, the entity behind the Wit and Wisdom, stated that the curriculum is in full compliance with Tennessee state law.
Okay, so one of my biggest questions is this. These moms are very concerned about what is traumatizing to their children. They also mentioned that some of the children need counseling after seeing some of the images of actual things that took place, actual things that happened to black children at the hands of white people during that time. So they believe that that is too traumatizing for their children to lay eyes on. Their children shouldn't have to see this or hear about it. It's too traumatizing. I wonder if these moms believe that it was also traumatizing to the people that it happened to. And I noticed how they were trying to say that speaking on these things now makes it appear as though these things are still happening today. A lot of people are of the belief that you should leave the past in the past, and that anything that happens in today's time is only for today's time, and that you can't make any type of link or draw any type of connection to events of the past. What happens is when you try to separate the past from the present, you can't look at the precedents that have already been set. You can't look at the examples that have already been made of certain treatments. See, our people have been traumatized for more than 400 years in this country. And you have groups like this who say, don't talk about that either. You see, they don't want to even draw a connection between what happened for the past 400 years or more to the things that are still happening today. In their minds, if they shut their eyes off and close their ears to what is happening today to so-called black people, then they don't have to make a connection. Because in their minds, if you are being persecuted today, it is your fault. You should obey the laws or whatever, without even looking into the fact that many times laws were put in place just to strong arm the people that they don't want you talking about. They don't want you talking about their troubles or their woes because it's too traumatizing to their children. But what is traumatizing to the victims doesn't matter. This is why people say that Black Lives Matter. It's not that they are saying, and I'm not advocating for the group either. I'm advocating for the statement. Okay, not the group or the organization, but the statement that says Black Lives Matter is simply saying it should have been Black Lives Matter too, to stop all of the people that whine about that from saying, well, all lives matter, right? Because no one ever said that all lives didn't matter. When they say Black Lives Matter too, they're basically saying that of all lives that you put value on, there is no value placed on Black lives by anyone. Not even among so-called black people. So you look at white people, you look at black people, you look at Asian people, you look at all kinds of people, and everyone wants you to be quiet about what happens to black lives. And if you so much as speak about it or talk about it or raise an eyebrow about it, you are being divisive. You are not allowed to talk about the persecution and the troubles and the woes, the discrimination. How many times have we covered stories where a black homeowner has a home, they know the value of it, they get a white appraiser to come out, and the white appraiser will devalue their home by sometimes more than $100,000. And they don't want to acknowledge that that's what they're doing. But then they will call another appraisal company and send a white friend to represent them instead of their black face, then all of a sudden the house value doubles. But see, you have groups in this country that don't want to talk about those things. These are basic civil rights that are being violated, but they don't want their children to be traumatized by the details of civil rights. They don't want their children to even understand why the young woman who was trying to go to a school back in the mid 1900s, and she had these angry stares at her as she dared to approach the school. People spitting on her, throwing things at her, belittling her. They believe that it's too traumatizing for their children to see or even know about these things. But yet, Christopher Columbus Day is still celebrated in this country. This shows you the vast hypocrisy, especially among Christians, because they will celebrate Christopher Columbus, and some will even know about the heinousness of what they did to indigenous people. A lot of people have posted about it, talked about it. There was even one white male Christian who says, he pretty much said, I don't care about that. I'm still going to celebrate his day. You all are not going to guilt me into not celebrating Christopher Columbus Day. So, in other words, they don't care about what he did. They feel like they are reaping the benefits of his wickedness. And so that is enough. You see. And so it amazes me how people, especially religious people, They try to talk about God and fairness and love and peace and mercy and forgiveness and all of this stuff, but they themselves don't have it. They don't offer any forgiveness, any love, any compassion, nothing to people that they deem to be less than them. They have all of those things, though, for people who look like them. Many of them are so filled with hypocrisy that they would never see nor understand that their sins have reached unto heaven. It amazes me how this country has this huge push to squash the facts and the details of what was done here in this country, even to the Native Americans. Why talk about how this land was taken over? They don't believe that should be known. That shouldn't even be taught in schools. Because then you would have to talk about how Native American tribes were nearly wiped out. They said 95% of their population was wiped out. What does that wiped out mean? It means that their lives were taken brutally. While at the same time, the people who were doing that were calling them savages. These people were on their lands, doing their thing, and then they were invaded. And then lies were put out in the public school system that basically said that, oh, we just had a simple Thanksgiving Day meal with these people, and they turned on us. Oh my goodness. So in today's time, if you were to duplicate the actions that were done against the Native Americans, what that would look like is someone going to one of their lands and basically forcing them off violently. None of them would stand for that. But yet they feel that the way that they did that and taking it from the Native Americans, all is fair in love and war. But they would not want that same thing done to them and those who they love. So many narratives have been put out there to justify these actions. There is no remorse for these actions. As a matter of fact, they feel that anyone who lives here in this country, even though the country didn't belong to them, they feel like anyone who lives here should be grateful and thankful to them for being allowed to even breathe on this land. And this is not the only place that these things have happened. This has happened all over the world. All over the world. But those portions of history they feel are too traumatizing for their children to hear, read about, be taught about. So what they want their children to learn is that Christopher Columbus was a hero. They don't want them to hear about how ruthless and disgusting and despicable he was to little children. The things, the unthinkable things that he did to little children, to whole families. They don't want you to talk about those things. They don't want their children to hear about those things. They don't want their children to hear about what happened over in Australia, to where almost the whole indigenous population was wiped out and their land was taken from them. They don't want you to hear about what happened down in South America, where similar things were happening all around the world. But as they are standing in their, or sitting on their high horse, they want you to believe that they are Christians who are so loving that they want to protect their children, even if that means that other children have to agonize in self-defeat, or to feel low, or to feel that there is no justice for them, that their story cannot be told, that telling their story is a crime, because these things continue to happen. This is not a thing of the past, but you have organizations in this country who want to make you believe that this stuff don't happen anymore. This is because they've closed their eyes and their ears to it, and they don't believe that anyone should make a peep about it. Don't talk about it, but continue to spread the lies of history that they've passed out, that this was a fair trade for land, even though 95% of the indigenous population had to be wiped out first We had to do it, but it was a fair trade for land. But we can't talk about it. We ain't gonna talk about it in school because it's too traumatizing. And we really don't care about how traumatized the native populations were or the so-called black populations who were brought here to serve us. We don't care about that. But please do not traumatize us and our children with all that information. Keep it to yourself. That is what a lot of organizations are simply saying by trying to deny the facts of history. Anyway, I'm done with the story. Y'all know I can go on and on and on and on and on about the truth. There are so many truths to be told, so many. And anyone who follows this channel knows that I am all about the truth. Even when I speak on the issues in the so-called black community, I don't gloss over anything. I don't try to pretend that we are just so wonderful and so good and things are just happening to us. I don't do that. I know what the Bible said. I know why we are in the land of our captivity. I know what our people have done, and I know what it takes for us to get up out of the situation that we are in as a whole. As I say many times on this channel, the Bible says, if my people, which are called by my name, would humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, he says, then will I hear from heaven, forgive their sin, and heal their land. I'm out. We hope you liked today's topic. Please leave your comments below. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, share it like this video, and with that, we're out. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.